Hey everyone, welcome to the Pawareness podcast, and thanks for joining me. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, and also check us out at pawareness.org and on Instagram at pawareness_official. On Instagram, we are doing submissions for Pet of the Week, where you can submit your foster pet, and we'll pick one winner every month, and we'll give $200 to their choice of charity or foster. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Pawareness podcast. Today I have Emily Wright, founder of Barn Cat Project, and I'm just going to go ahead and let you just jump straight into it, what you do and what it is that Barn Cat Project does.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited to be here. So we're a Melbourne-based foster care rescue group, and we focus on rehoming the stray and street cats that are in our southeastern suburbs. I founded us at the start of the year in January, so we're a really, really new rescue group. And what we aim to do is, decrease the overpopulation issue we have going on here. And, all of the ripple effects that come off that, like all of the issues we're having with our kittens, ending those suffering. Aiming to achieve is to decrease the amount of animals that are on the streets, or amount of cats that are on the streets, and also the implication that they're having on our native wildlife. So here in Melbourne and all around Australia, we've got a really big issue with pet cats and stray cats threatening our native species. So we really are focusing on all facets of rehoming and rehabilitating these cats, giving them a second chance, and preventing them from being a threat to our beautiful native wildlife.
And what exactly is the threat that's happening there, right? Are they just, like crowding out different populations of different species, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so they're actually, in the last 200 years, cats have contributed to the extinction of, I think it's like 2/3 of our mammal species here, or something like around 20 species. So they are a really prevalent problem. And I think there's around 3.9 million pet cats here. So that, and 71% of them are allowed to roam. So they really are a massive threat to these native wildlife. And what we're trying to do is create awareness around this issue and start up education programs that really provide the public with resources to understand the issue and to help tackle the issue. Because it is a really prevalent problem, and we are seeing their effects are really debilitating to our species, our native species.
And so, I see, I've never heard of that before. I did not know that personally. So I'm really glad to be talking with you. And what are some of those, what are some steps that you're taking in terms of, like decreasing that population?
So the crux of what we do is our One Less Cat program, which is basically our rescue program. We go out to calls, we receive messages about colonies of cats, and groups of cats in the area that are stray or street cats, or they've been abandoned. And we go and we collect them and we put them through our foster care program where they're rehabilitated, and we spay and neuter them and send them off to their forever homes. And that's just a continuous cycle. And the really big part of our program is making sure we can get as many cats off the street, have them spayed, have them neutered, and put them into homes. The tricky part though here, and of course our project is ever evolving as we come across more issues and new problems occur, is TNR isn't legal here in Australia, and particularly in Victoria. We're looking to introduce it, hopefully, but it's not practiced here. We're not supposed to practice it here. So we can't obviously follow through with TNR and decreasing that likelihood of stray cats breeding without having to bring them into foster care. So it is a really slow process, and it's really difficult at times because you just want to get as many animals desexed as possible to stop that problem, but we only can work within our means. So that's why I started us as the Barn Cats Project, because our hope was for those cats who can't be rehabilitated to live in a domestic home, they then still have that second chance to live as a farm cat or a barn cat on a property. And that way they can still live out a really healthy life. They're not contributing to, the overpopulation issue, or they're less of a threat to native wildlife, and they can still, live a perfectly happy life without living with people.
And so do you think that in the coming years, do you think it will become legal, or do you not really see that happening? TNR, I mean.
It's a bit up in the air at the moment, to be perfectly honest. We really hope that it does. It's a little bit of it's a little up in the air. I'd like to see it be introduced because it would be a really positive thing. But there is that also balance, obviously, with that native wildlife. So it's really up in the air. I honestly have no idea.
No, that's I appreciate the honesty. I'm trying to understand logistically here. So if you can't fix cats, you can't spay and neuter them, then you have to find homes for all of these cats. And so what does that look like? I mean, what's the turnover rate? Like, how many cats are you getting into homes? Because I feel like you said there's 3.9 million cats, and how many people are in Australia? Like, what's the population there?
I think there's about 28 million, something like that.
Yeah. So that stray cat to human population's kind of, high. I feel like kind of high. So I'm just trying to understand here. So how long does it take for you to find a cat? Like, let's say you guys get a cat and put it in a home. How long does that take?
So it really depends on the cat, but our first, I'll use the example of our first actual rescue intakes we ever got. We trapped them from a suburb in Melbourne early this year in April, and they were adopted in September. So they were in foster care for just over 5 months. So the rehabilitation process, can take anywhere from a couple of months to even up to like a year. It really just depends on the animal. So it can be a really long-winded progress, and it does make it difficult at times to sort of have that constant turnover if you've got, only so many foster carers and heaps of cats that need to come into care.
Gotcha. And and when you say like rehabilitation, does that mean you are like basically the cat from being a feral cat to just, maybe something more hospitable inside? Is that what you refer to that as?
Yeah, we go through a full socialization process. So it's from basically totally unsocialized. Our feral cats are a little bit different than over in the States. We've got feral cats and we've got street cats. So our feral cats are they're much larger. They tend to roam on farms and in rural areas, whereas our stray cats are your sort of what the States in the States are feral cats. So they are completely unsocialized when they come into care with us. And then it's sort of getting them to a point where they are comfortable and can be adopted into a domestic home setting where they are comfortable and they're no longer, showing signs of fear-based aggression or timidness or fear of, being super fearful of humans.
And how long do you think that normally takes? Because I grew up on a farm and there were some cats and I feel like it took a while, but we weren't actively, my family hadn't gone through a program or anything like that. How, with you guys, how long does something like that take?
On average, probably about 4 or 5 months. So it really, for a cat that's never lived with humans, never been around humans, it can take us on average about 5 or 6 months to rehabilitate them from start to finish.
And for you, seeing all the parts of this, when you how was this project founded? I want to know that too. What's the history behind that? So
I actually, about 2 years ago now, I stumbled across a video of Hannah Shaw's around neonatal kitten care. And for me, I had never heard of this issue before. I'd never been in the world of animal rescue. I'd never heard of neonatal, kittens or the overpopulation issue. And so I started wondering whether Australia had the same issue, because I knew that it was prevalent in the States, but I had no idea that it was an issue here. And so I started doing some research and contacting a few local rescue groups to understand what the issue was. And I couldn't find any programs that did what we aim to do, which is giving cats that can't be adopted out into homes, like a farm cat adoption option. So that's really where we started. We started with trying to find farm homes for those cats who can't live in homes with people. And it's progressed from there, and it's evolved from there into, trying to create education programs for the community around different issues within rescue.
How do you guys reach those homes, those farms that the cats end up going on? Is that like, do they come to you? Do you guys have like this outreach program? What does that look like?
We're trying to start a bit of an outreach program, because the trickiest part is it's really difficult to find farm homes. We've reached out. When we first started, I called over 100 different farms, wineries, stables, equestrian centres, to try and find people who would be interested in adopting farm cats. And I only got about 3 positive responses. So it is really difficult, and we're finding it really difficult to find farm homes for cats. Luckily, so far, we actually have been able to rehabilitate all of the animals that come into our care. So we haven't yet needed to find a farm home, but we're trying to start a bit of an outreach program and get something going so that, those properties and those farms can get in contact with us and vice versa.
And how big is your team how many people are behind this project?
So we're a pretty small team. There's not a lot of us. There's about 4 of us in admin, and we've got an adoption team of about 5 or 6, and then we've got our amazing foster carers, and we've got about 10 foster carers. So there's about 20 of us in total. We're not a very big rescue group, but we've got a wonderful, wonderful team.
That's bigger than I feel like a lot of the people I talk to. It's usually just like a few, like a small handful. And I think that's a common theme with just these, rescue organizations in general. It's just started with this passion, and it's just a few passionate people, and it can really go a long way. So I think that's really cool. And I admire what you guys do. And, what are you guys like? What are some plans? Like, what do you guys have on the horizon? We're closing out 2021, only a few months left, couple months left, right? What are some goals that you guys have for 2022?
So our big goal is to start up a couple of new programs within the rescue group. One program that we're really looking forward to getting started with is a program that aims to decrease accidental litters within the community. So if people within the community have a pregnant cat or a mother cat that's had kittens, they can temporarily surrender the mum to us and surrender all the kittens to us. And then what we'll do is keep her in care with the kittens until they're weaned and they don't need mum anymore, have her desexed, vaccinated, microchipped, whatever, and then give her back. So that way we're aiming to decrease the amount of pet cats that aren't desexed, and sort of give back to the community in that way, and work with the community to solve this issue that we have, because it really is a team effort. We're not the only rescue group that are looking to do it and are doing it. There's some really wonderful rescue groups in Melbourne that are already doing this sort of a program. We've done it a couple of times as an unofficial thing, but we would like to have that program in by next year, because we're heading into kitten season right now, and it is becoming really, really crippling really quickly.
And I was going to ask you too, I wanted to ask you this, like, what are some things that you feel like you guys do really, really well? Like, what are some of your strengths that kind of have gotten you this far?
I definitely think that it's probably Obviously, our dedication to it is a big thing. You know, I've got an amazing team of foster carers who are so dedicated to what they do. And, you know, if I give them a call and I'm like, hey, I've got this super spicy cat, they don't even blink an eye. So I think for us, it's this passion for street cats. You know, it doesn't matter where they've come from and what their behavior is like or anything like that. We really try and give each cat the best go that we can. And I think our focus on wildlife and our education is something that is it's a really positive thing, and I think that's one of our strengths. You know, it's important when we're dealing with this issue to look at it holistically and not just the core of the issue, but everything else that is like a ripple effect of that issue. I know I've said that a couple of times, but I feel like that is a really big thing. And so I feel like we, through our education programs and through what we're trying to do, we achieve our mission of trying to create that awareness.
I think that's amazing. And like I said, before even the call started, I really like what you guys are doing. I admire it. And I can tell you guys are passionate about it. And that's what I wanted to ask too, is where can we follow you at, support everything you got going on? Where can we find you guys?
We've got our Instagram, which is the Barn Cats Project. We've got our Facebook page. We have our website, which at the time of this recording isn't up live, but when this goes live, it will be, which is thebarncatsproject.org. And we've got our Amazon wish list, which is in our Instagram bio. We've got so many different channels for donations. Any donations, any supports, any shares, that really helps us get our message out and help the cats that are in our care.
And all of those links will be in the description below, wherever you guys are listening at. Check them out. Emily, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to get to talk with you, and really looking forward to see what you guys do going forward.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris, and, you know, for helping us spread awareness. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. Thanks for sharing the issues that are going on in Australia. So thank you, and we'll definitely be talking soon.
Yeah, thank you.